I'm speaking with Laurie McKern today from GAP, also known as Greyhounds As Pets. G'day, Laurie.
Hi Dave, how are you going?
Doing very well. Great subject to talk about today, greyhounds. There's a few misconceptions out there about what sort of dogs they are, and today I think you'll be able to make that a lot clearer for myself and my listeners. First up, what is GAP and how did it all begin?
GAP Greyhounds As Pets is an initiative of Greyhound Racing New South Wales, and we are the industry's welfare and adoption program for retired racers and dogs that are no longer suited to racing life. They come to us from owners and trainers who have really thought about the dog's career change, I guess you would call it, once they've ceased to race, and they've applied and had their dog into our program so that they've got that other avenue once they finish racing, and they've come to us generally in very, very good condition. They have to be in great condition physically and mentally to race and perform well. So they come to us really well looked after and cared for, and they come into us, they get behaviour assessed, and then provided that all goes well and they're suitable to go out in the community to be a brilliant pet, they then have all their vet work done, basically just getting desexed, microchipped, they're vaccinated, they have their teeth cleaned, have a bit of recovery time, and then they go into a foster home.
I've got a bit of a vested interest here in that I've fostered 2 greyhounds so far. I'm on my second one at the moment, young Gus, and I've had Jack previously, and they're the most beautiful, loving dogs, so I thought it was a great opportunity to get you on to spread the word.
As Dave just said, his first greyhound, Jack, has just recently been rehomed into a beautiful family in the Sydney area, and they absolutely adore him, and he's settled in like an absolute gem, and that's because of the brilliant work that Dave and other foster carers do with the dogs in that transitional period.
Misconceptions about greyhounds, because you just mentioned Jack, the first dog that I fostered, and I know the couple who adopted him, they've got some young daughters, so they wanted to make sure that they had a dog that was safe around their young children. So tell us about some of the misconceptions out there in the community. Absolutely,
that's probably the biggest stigma attached to greyhounds. People see the muzzle and they only naturally form their own opinions. Muzzling laws that have been in place governing greyhounds to be muzzled in public was brought in over 50 years ago now, when basically they were thought of as a racing dog and not as a loving family pet that they can be now. The law was actually changed after much lobbying and lots of sort of class action, I guess you'd call it, from people that have been blessed to have pet greyhounds in their lives. The law was changed in October last year, which brought about the Greyhounds Initiative. And the Greyhounds Initiative is basically the application and administration of the muzzling exemptions for pet greyhounds. So to become a greyhound has to pass through an approved program, which Greyhounds As Pets has recently become. We are the only and the first program to become an approved program under the Greyhounds Initiative in New South Wales. So greyhound has to pass through that program, which goes through the minimum of a 6-week fostering, or they complete a 6-week in-home retraining workbook and guide. At the end of that time, the dog is then assessed by an approved assessor that's completed a course, and then it's deemed either a pass or a fail, and obviously if it passes, it gets issued with a muzzling exemption. It's then known as a greenhound and gets issued with a special unique collar, a green collar, that the dog wears in public with a unique tag attached, and that signifies to the public, council rangers, that the dog is muzzle exempt and doesn't have to wear a muzzle when on lead in public, and that's also recorded on the Companion Animals Register as well.
People can find out more at greenhounds.com.au, is that correct?
Yep, that's absolutely right. That'll tell you not just about the initiative itself, but a lot about the breed, the history of the breed, famous owners of greyhounds throughout history, and currently a recent addition to the website has been the Dog-a-log, which up there at the moment is a few dogs that are greenhounds that have been tested and gone through our approved program, and they're available for adoption. So that number of dogs on the Dog-a-log will grow as more dogs are assessed, but at the moment we've got 4 beautiful dogs up there available for adoption from Greyhounds As Pets.
What sort of transition do greyhounds go through from their day-to-day racing life to domesticated life?
Basically, that's the role of the foster carer. They really are a valuable component in that transitional period. So some things that greyhounds may never have been exposed to, like ordinary other pet dogs would have been, they seemingly mundane things like TV sounds, different floor surfaces, vacuum cleaners, all those different kinds of things, which are very normal, everyday occurrences, but greyhounds may not have been exposed to them. That's the role of the foster carer. They work through a 6-week minimum workbook with the dog, and basically they set them up to succeed in their further life. So they, within that time frame that the foster carer has the dog, they expose them to as many different things as possible, as I said, from all those mundane household things to the biggest thing is socialisation with other dogs.
I'm speaking with Laurie McKern today from Greyhounds As Pets. Laurie, fostering and adopting, tell us about each option and what is the difference between the two?
Absolutely. Well, fostering is sort of like a try before you buy kind of a thing, where all expenses are paid for by Greyhounds As Pets within that time. So you doing the dog an absolute service, as well as us alike. We see our foster carers as one of the most valuable components of the whole experience for the greyhound. You get issued with a manual and a guide. It's not labour intensive at all, and you just work through a little workbook with the dog over a minimum of 6 weeks. And your role is basically to expose them to all different things of everyday life to basically set them up to become a great pet in the future when they get adopted. As I said, all expenses are paid for during that time. That's a role of a foster carer. We have some foster carers that are a foster with a view to adopt, so they're the ones that are thinking about adopting the dog but not really sure, so they do the same process of the fostering. At the end of the time, the foster carer has the first option of adopting the dog. Then we have people that adopt the dog straight out. The fostering period has been done by somebody else, so like yourself or other foster carers out in the community, and then they adopt the dog straight out, ready to go.
In the time that I've had the two dogs, I've got to meet a lot of people, and I thought to myself, wow, there'd be great dogs to have around maybe people who are incapacitated or elderly or just people who live on their own. I could see a greyhound for someone who's a little bit lonely as a great companion. Are they just suited to anyone?
Yeah, they're a brilliant companion. They are very, very adaptable dogs, and they tend to adapt to all different surrounds and environments with ease. It's quite incredible. You know, I'll take dogs to a new house, they'll have a little sniff around and then plonk down and go to sleep. So you're quite right, they fit into an absolute array of different houses and different homes and lifestyles, from people that are older and things like that. They're generally quite a gentle dog. They're right at appropriate height for patting and things like that for people that are possibly bound by illness or in bed, as well as young families. We've got such a multitude of dogs that can go and go and go, have lots of energy, to ones that just want to lay around all day. So they really fit the bill of all different families. As Dave said, his first dog, Jack, got adopted into a home with a couple of little girls under the age of sort of 4 to 5, and he's just absolutely taken it in his stride. He's just a gentle goofball, and they absolutely adore him, and he hasn't put a foot wrong in terms of anything to do with the children. Another thing to say, which also is testament to how brilliant they are as pets in their own right, we have a number of dogs that have come through our program, been adopted out, that have recently been accredited with the Delta Society, and they are then used as pets for therapy dogs. So, you know, they're used in hospitals, in nursing homes, aged care facilities, and with absolute ease, and they're just taken to the role so beautifully, and they're absolutely adored wherever they go. So that's a testament to the character of the greyhound.
What's the process if a foster carer decides that either themselves or the dog is not suited to them?
Yeah, absolutely, and that can happen just like with any new person or animal coming into the family home. Just sometimes it just doesn't work out for whatever reason, maybe no fault of the dog or the carer. We always have other carers sort of on standby to be able to help us out in some instances. And basically we just, get the dog into the home that's best suited, and sometimes that might not be on the first occasion, but we tend to like to work it out after that, and we're always in need of more foster carers to help us out. We're in a phase of expansion at the moment, so we'll be able to take on more dogs, so consequently we'll need more foster carers to help us out.
What happens if a greyhound is not adopted out? Does it just continually find a foster home?
We've got dogs that have been in the program for some weeks and they've got a home very quickly, and then others just hung around a bit longer than we would have thought. Nothing bad happens to them if they don't get adopted. They just basically stay in the program until the right home is found, and that always happens. Whether they move around in their foster home, we don't like to move them around too much. You don't want to unsettle them, but in some instances, to facilitate the dog actually getting a home, it may need to go into a few different foster homes, and that's all valuable experience for the dog. And we're very close monitoring through, obviously, our carers, myself as the coordinator, and our vets as well. So if there's any concerns, we're right on top of it.
I'm speaking with Laurie McKern today from Greyhounds As Pets. You can contact Greyhounds As Pets on 1800 696 377, 1800 696 377, or go to GAP, G-A-P, at GRNSW, and that stands for Greyhound Racing New South Wales.com.au. That is GAP at GRNSW.com.au. How are greyhounds around cats, Laurie?
As you'd appreciate, not all greyhounds get along with cats, but from time to time we do have a few greyhounds that come along that might prove particularly excellent in their initial evaluation and their testing procedure, and then based on that we'll then go on to test them with some cats. Some of them will prove us wrong and not quite happily want to live in harmony with a cat, and then others will just absolutely take it in their stride and they're not even concerned about it. We've got quite a number of dogs that have been adopted through our program, quite happily living with multiple cats in the household, to one boy that's actually living with 9 cats at present, and he just takes it all in his stride. It's just not worth his while to do anything to them, and they all live in harmony and happiness together.
Are there any last words of encouragement you'd like to give our listeners today to either foster or adopt a beautiful, loving greyhound?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you're a testament to the breed and all of that yourself. But just recently, a new carer came on board for us, and she's absolutely just done a brilliant job with the dogs that she's had. And she said to me once, this was her first greyhound, never had exposure to one before, and she said, honestly, Laurie, once you've had a greyhound, you just will not go back to any other breed. And that's an absolute testament to them and their character. And, you know, she just didn't get a good dog straight away. She's had a number of dogs, and once you've had a greyhound, you won't go back. They are, if you're just willing to give them a chance, they will show you within, you know, the first minute that they are just beautiful, placid, gentle-natured dogs that genuinely just want to be and have human company. You take them for a walk like a normal dog and they'll happily snooze around for the rest of the day, and they will be the most brilliant companion to yourself, your family and other animals in the household. Before
we let you go, we'll give out those contact details again. First of all, if you want to find out about the Greenhound Collar program, greenhounds.com.au, greenhounds.com.au. Now to contact GAP Greyhounds As Pets, 1800 696 377, 1800 696 377, or GAP at grnsw.com.au, GAP at grnsw.com.au. All the best with the program, Laurie.
Thanks, Dave, for your time. Really appreciate it.